Hello again, everyone. Edwin Leonard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be dissertating and talking about astrology and St. Patrick's Day. Now, as many of you may know, St. Patrick's Day falls traditionally on March 17th. The sun is in Pisces at a very late degree, and it nearly represents the full culmination of the sign. I think it's very interesting because Pisces is ruled by Jupiter and Neptune. Jupiter is a planet associated with luck and fortune. It is what I refer to as the fortuitous planet. It's a planet connected with benevolence. And a lot of times people seem to show this on this particular holiday. It's also, Jupiter has also been referred to as the Great Benign, I believe, and I believe it was from Secrets of a Stargazer's Notebook, as it was referred to as Merciful Fatso. I thought it was funny. And Jupiter also governs religion, and according to Wikipedia, this holiday for St. Patrick's Day, quote, cultural and religious celebration held on 17 March, end quote. And it's funny that it is connected with, not funny, haha, but it is interesting, I should say, that it is connected with the celebration connected with, it's a religious celebration of sorts. So I thought it's interesting. And it's hard for me to really think that it's just a coincidence that it falls on a day where the sun is in Pisces and it's ruled by Jupiter and Neptune. But Neptune is associated with alcohol and drugs, keep in mind. It's also a planet of illusion, which is connected with, can be connected with false flattery, but also Neptune can be associated with imagination. When they have a St. Patrick's Day parade, a lot of times I believe people do come out in very creative costumes on this particular day. So that is something to consider with this. And Pisces is connected with Jupiter's expansiveness and Neptune's idealism. And the thing is, on this particular day, people, it's interesting that we talk about the luck of the Irish on this day, and that this is associated with Jupiter, which is considered like that lucky or fortuitous planet, so to speak. And also, people seem to have the proclivity to imbibe on this day and indulge a little bit more in alcohol than they generally do. And I think that's interesting, the fact that that Neptune governs over Pisces. Well, anyway, I want to talk about St. Patrick's Day and the 12 zodiac signs, and I'm being serious with some of this and being flippant and comical with some of these writings, I guess you could say, my little things I'm going to talk about with St. Patrick's Day and this particular and the zodiac signs. And anyway, Aries, and it does apply and pertain to the sun, moon, and ascendant for all 12 zodiac signs, of course. Now, for Aries, I think maybe they need to avoid being a little bit more acerbic or combative at this particular time, because Aries is ruled by Mars, and they could be like that to some degree anyway at times. But I think too much alcohol might exacerbate this, so I think that's something to consider as far as Aries goes. Now, as far as Taurus goes, there could be a danger, I think, with just general overindulgence. Taurus can be gluttonous in a very negative manifestation or expression, so I think they need to be careful with this. And I'm not talking about just alcohol necessarily. I mean just in consumption with food, just in general, whether it's food and or drinks. So anyway, and Gemini is known to be a loquacious sign, to say the least. So maybe Gemini needs to guard against over-talking, garrulousness, and maybe spilling some secrets in the process. Hopefully they won't spill too much beer on this day. But as far as Gemini can have difficulty holding on to secrets anyway, but if you mix the alcohol with it, well, they might spill a few more, so that's something to consider. Now, Cancer. A lot of people know about Cancer, that food can equal love with the zodiac sign Cancer. And there might be a strong indulgence in green food on this particular day. So just be careful not to be too excessive, Cancer, as far as this goes. And anyway, the next sign I want to talk about is Leo. In Leo, because of their pride, they may feel that they can consume more than they really are able to. So I think because of their pride, they need to curtail that and understand they might be a Leo, but they still are, everybody has limitations in what they can hold, and that could be food and or alcohol. So those are things to consider as far as Leo goes on this particular day. So because Leo can be a generous and magnanimous sign, and they generally don't do things in a small way, and avoid the extravagance too that's unnecessary on perhaps St. Patrick's Day items, Leo. So for Virgo, well, Virgo is a sign that's noted to have an affinity for health-related matters. So I think Virgo, of all the signs, is likely to be more prudent and cautious on this particular day, and less likely to go to drink or even indulge in food and drink in excess, as opposed to the average sign. So that is something to look at as far as the sign Virgo goes. And there generally probably won't be spending too much money on average on anything on St. Patrick's Day. So, well, for Libra, well, I'm being flippant and comical as far as Libra goes in this. Maybe they can get a green trick scale, have it somehow, because Libra is connected with balance, of course, and its symbol is the scale. So maybe they could have a trick scale, a green trick scale built into the ground, have someone walk on it and weigh them, and someone get weighed without realizing it. I'm only joking, of course. But anyway, Libra is very balanced and equitable, and I think this would apply to their habits generally on St. Patrick's Day. Now, Scorpio. Well, Scorpio likes mystery, so maybe they could play hide the St. Patrick's Day merchandise, the green cookies. Maybe they can indulge in an Irish mystery story or stories. Scorpio is enamored with mysteries and conundrums, so that's something to consider for Scorpio. Now, Sagittarius could be very sports-minded, so maybe they could go maybe some preseason baseball on a green field. Maybe that's something for Sagittarius. Sagittarius also likes to they could be jokesters, so maybe they can get one of those phones that can display holograms and maybe display some imaginary images of green cookies and maybe fool some people or something on this day. So Capricorn is interesting because Capricorn tends to have a very stern and serious disposition, but this is a time where they may come out and be more whimsical and capricious than they ordinarily are, and you might see with a little bit of liquor, you might see them be a little bit more, I would say you might see the whimsical giddy goat, so to speak, come out in Capricorn more so than on average on this particular day. Now, for Aquarius, maybe something Irish/outlandish on this particular day. Maybe something avant-garde as far as what they dress, or for example, on this particular day, something that's a little bit out there or bizarre. That might be one of their, something they might do that might be connected with St. Patrick's Day. Maybe wear some kind of unusual type costume or something in honor of this particular day as an example. Now, Pisces. Well, maybe they'll jump in a green sea and do some swimming, do some aquatics and some green water. I'm only joking, of course, and being flippant, but I think in all seriousness, Pisces, of all the signs, can be the ones that are most susceptible to alcohol and drugs, and also Pisces can really be, I believe, out of all 12 zodiac signs, the most impressionable on average. So I think Pisces, above the other signs, needs to be exceptionally careful of overindulgence in alcoholic items on this particular day, and everything in moderation, and including moderation. That's what I say. Well, anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment for astrology and St. Patrick's Day. And stay tuned next time, where I'll be continuing my series on the zodiac signs and compatibility. Two things I want to get with you on before I head out. Firstly, the stars may impel but do not compel. And secondly, never isolate any single astrological element aspect, planetary placement, position, configuration, influence, or what have you, and make an analysis of a person, astrologically speaking, based on this alone, because astrologically speaking, the person is the sum of all their components in their natal chart, and not just one. Until next time, people, stay well.